Hello, my name is Darren Palmer, and we're coming to you from Ouverture Books, Beans and Gifts at 6 Old Turnpike, Pleasantville, New Jersey, just outside of Atlantic City. You can also find us online at ouverturebooks.com. Today I'm here with a friend, Tara Hicks. Tara is a book reviewer, among other things, and she blogs at tarahicks.com, or is it Book Reviews by Tara.
By Tara.
Is that correct? Okay, good. All right, so we're just going to chat a little bit. You know, we're just talking about books and literature in general, and I'm going to try to get a sense of kind of like what Tara's up to these days in the area of literature. So my first question for you, Tara, is, do you favor a particular genre when you do book reviews?
I do. I favor autobiographies and memoirs.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and your affinity for books in general, how did they come about? How did you start getting into the whole literary investigation and critique area?
That's a very interesting story. I was a non-reader for most of my young life. I didn't read my first book until I was 20. My sister gave me a book. She gave me my very first book, and it was titled My Family, the Jacksons by Katherine Jackson.
Oh.
She gave me that book because she knew I loved music, and I was a non-reader, and she wanted to get me into reading because she was the avid reader of the family, and it worked. I read that book, and I never stopped reading.
And how long after you read that initial book did you start, presenting was that the first book that you reviewed for yourself, or was that just a kind of like a journal, just something for you to kind of remember the book and kind of keep a record?
No, I just read it.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know anything
about that book at all?
No, I didn't journal it. I didn't know anything about book reviews. I didn't know anything about the literary world at all. It was just the first book that I had read. So once I read it, I realized that at the time I was going through a depression, and I realized that I couldn't read and think at the same time. So I automatically wanted to read another book to stop my thoughts.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I read that first book, felt good afterwards, and immediately started looking for other books to read. But at the time, I didn't write reviews at the time. I didn't journal books at the time, anything.
So how long after that first book did you start journaling?
I want to say about 10 years. Yeah, it was, I started reading about 20. I started journaling in my early 30s. Early to mid 30s, I would say.
And what was the purpose behind journaling, as opposed to just kind of, putting the book back on the shelf and moving on to the next book? What did journaling do for you? Why was that a productive exercise for you?
I started journaling because I was reading so many books I couldn't keep track of what I was reading, and I wanted a log of what was happening. At the time, I read a lot of fiction. So when you read a lot of fiction authors, they may come out with 5-6 books, and I kept getting confused. Like, did I read this book already? Right. So in an attempt to track what I was reading, so I wouldn't buy the same book twice, I started keeping a log.
Okay.
And then it came out in the form of a book journal. I put a picture on it so I can see this is the book that you actually read. And then from there, it just transformed.
And how did you gravitate towards memoirs?
Again, another difficult time in life. I was going through some changes, and I realized that I was reading a book by Dr. Robin Smith titled Hungry. And when I read that book, she kind of helped me navigate that rough terrain I was on. And I said, from there, I realized I'm reading nonfiction is not doing anything for me. It's not helping me to grow. It's not helping me past, rough times. And I just started reading more nonfiction. And then from nonfiction, I've always been into memoirs. I just didn't know it. I didn't know about the different genres. I didn't, because I wasn't really in that world, so I didn't really know.
Okay, interesting. So, and how did the formal book critiques come about? How soon after you started journaling did you kind of gravitate into actually sharing your thoughts on a book with the public, so to speak?
That was another, I'm gonna say maybe 6 years.
Okay.
I didn't start doing that until Instagram.
Okay.
And I was so anti-social media. And one night I was in a bookstore, my second home. I was in a bookstore and I was doing my book journal. And I said, you know what? Let me start an Instagram account. Don't ask me why, because I didn't have an Instagram account, knew nothing about Instagram. I opened it up, started an account, and just started putting books in there.
Interesting.
And that's the only thing I put was just books. And then people just started coming, and I was like, wow, this is a thing. And then I realized it really is a thing. There's a lot of readers out there. So
before we get into the reactions that you've gotten, tell me a little bit about your writing process now that you're writing for the public, so to speak, or public consumption. How do you engage critical review of a book?
My process is simple, just as like reading. I carry a book with me wherever I go, and I read any moment I can, and I write reviews the same way. I write reviews throughout the day. Once I finish reading the book, I just take out my phone and start writing my thoughts. I happen to believe there's no bad way to write a review. It's just your thoughts. It's what you think. And everybody has a right to say, this is what I think of this particular book or item. And, we live in a time now where reviews are more important than they've ever been because of social media and Amazon. First thing people do is go to Google, what's the review?
Right. Yeah, that's true. I certainly do.
Yeah.
Or certainly have when I'm trying to decide. How do you know when your writing, however, has met your standards and you're ready to release it, though?
I feel it.
Okay.
I know when I'm done. Yeah, I know when I'm done. Also, I write on Instagram. I have so many characters, so I have to always go in and edit and make sure, okay, this sentence may not be necessary because it's not going to fit. I keep every review Instagram length because I know people that read reviews, they may not want to read 20 pages. Keep it short and sweet, enough that allow them to know what you think, but not enough that they like, okay, I had enough of that.
Okay. And where do you publish outside of Instagram? Do you have any other mediums that you use?
I'm a social media book reviewer. I publish on Goodreads.
Okay.
I used to publish on Facebook, and I'm thinking about going back to that just for the local community.
Okay.
Trying to figure out where that reading community is locally, but I deactivate Facebook a lot. Actually, you know what? I said I started on Instagram. That's not true. I started writing reviews on Twitter. And Twitter, you have even less characters.
Right.
And when I started doing it, it was even less characters than it is now. So I would go to book fairs, like the Harlem Book Fair, and get books and just write like quick little snaps of what I think of this book.
Harlem Book Fair. I haven't been to the Harlem Book Fair since the late 90s or mid 90s, I think. Oh man, I had such fond memories of going up there.
Oh,
wow.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So tell me, what are you reading now?
I'm reading Tamara Maury Housley. It's a memoir.
Okay.
The title is You Should Sit Down for This.
What made you pick that particular book to read at this time?
I read a lot of entertainment memoirs.
Okay.
That's my main niche, is entertainment memoirs. So whenever I see black entertainment memoir, should I say. So whenever I see a black author come out, black entertainer author come out with a book, 9 times out of 10 I'm going to read it.
Okay.
So
very good.
I saw her book came out, I said let me grab it, and it's fairly small, so I said I can get through this one quickly.
Okay, very good. When you're ready, you have to come back and give us a critique of it. Tell me, so I had a friend customer come in last week, and he asked me for a recommendation for a book for his niece, and I always just have one or two. Being an educator, a lot of times I'll give books away to my students. And one particular book that I gave away some years ago was Growing Up X. That was the autobiography of Malcolm X's daughter. Is there a book that you would recommend to, let's say, a young reader who's just starting out with serious reading, maybe late in high school?
Okay, so the answer to that question is I have multiple books in mind.
Okay, all right.
If it's a male, I just completed a book written by Ice-T, Spike, and Douglas Century.
Mm-hmm.
This is a book is called Split Decision. I would recommend that to a young man in about high school age and above, even college, or anybody, any age can read it. But the reason I would recommend it to high school is because it gives you an example. Ice-T, who we know, A-list celebrity, Spike, he used to commit crimes with Ice-T. They wrote a book together, which has never been done before. You've never seen like an A-list celebrity write a book with his accomplice in crime. So Spike ended up doing 30 some odd years in prison. And the split decision was they was doing it together. Choices, how important choices are.
Mm-hmm.
And in this memoir, you go through both of their paths, and then you see what can happen if you just make the wrong decision.
Interesting. Tell us the title again.
Split Decision.
Split Decision. All right,
Split
gotta keep
Decision.
our eyes and ears open for that one. Maybe that's something we can get into the store for our readers.
Yes, I would highly recommend that one. I truly do. It's a very, very good book for I think all young people.
Mm.
It's a little harsh, you know. It does have curse words and everything. But come on, it's Ice-T.
Right.
But I mean, that's everywhere.
Right, exactly.
But the point is, it's a powerful book.
Very good. All right, well, listen, Tara, thanks for coming in and thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. Tell us again yourself where the audience can find you.
You can find me in Book Reviews by Tara everywhere you look. YouTube, I'm on there. Instagram, Twitter. My website is down for the moment, but it'll be coming up soon. And it'll be Book Reviews by Tara. Anywhere you look, just put in Book Reviews by Tara. Any platform you want, I'll pop up.
Very good. All right, folks. So this discussion was brought to you by Ouverture Books, Beans and Gifts. Once again, 6 Old Turnpike in Pleasantville, New Jersey. Also, ouverturebooks.com. Thank you for watching.